All right, it's Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with me as always. Just another weekend where everybody won, Patrick. Everybody in
Yeah.
Minnesota, they couldn't stop winning. Some of them a little bit more unusual than others. We'll get to the more basic wins in a little bit. Maybe we'll talk a little Twins free agent off season as well. But pretty obvious, Patrick, that we're going to start with the Vikings. Even though I did a bonus episode Saturday, we've got plenty of ground still to cover. When you come back from 33 to nothing against a bad team in your 1000th game with a chance to clinch the division, it leaves a lot of questions unanswered, such as how did you get down 33 nothing in the first place? How do you kind of sort this one out? Because I know the aftermath is this grand joy of the comeback, but it still does. It's such a weird game because it was such a it was such a disaster for 30 minutes, and then that kind of gets wiped away by everything else.
Oh yeah, it gets wiped away. There's no doubt about it. It's I really would like to get my arms around it, but I have no idea. And
Right.
I just feel myself fortunate because everybody who's covering the game, and we got six people covering it, and then we have everybody else. I don't tweet that much during the game about Vikings, which is I'm glad because there's so many guys who would like to go back and take away all the virulent rips of the Vikings that took
Yes.
place. And these guys are frauds. They've been frauds all year. Blah blah blah. That stuff, the incredible rancorous stuff about it that everybody was tweeting in the first half. And I when my observation, no kidding, was this: if they get a couple of touchdowns, this is going to be the greatest comeback ever because this Colts team's going to fold like a paper mache something like
Yes.
they have all year. And man alive, it would have been a tragedy if they came back like that and ended up losing on a field goal in overtime or something because they didn't move the ball the first time out of
Yes.
overtime. But it's I'll say one thing: they're you don't you want to bury these guys because they are great in the fourth quarter. It's a cliche, it's everything, it's obvious, but it's incredible what they've done when it looks like they're beat. It's just amazing what they've done this year. They're 11-3, and they've outscored their opponents 351 to 349.
It's amazing.
They got a
It
2 point edge in
it
points.
defies all reason. Like
Yes,
11 and
it
3 with
does.
that margin. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, it is. But now, okay, the Giants had a tough game last night, and they're going to be in here, and it'll be another one-score game, but they'll probably figure out a way to win it at home, right? And then it is amazing. And Kirk couldn't have been worse the first
No,
half,
it's
right? He
terrible.
ends up with 460
Yeah, he
yards.
passed for over 400 yards in the second half and overtime. It was like, what?
I think he had 42 yards at halftime. I wasn't there, but I guess they booed the hell out of him when
Well,
they left the field, right?
I would think so. I mean, they were down 33 nothing. Like everybody's just expecting a coronation. Like not like the Colts are the worst team in the league, but like it's a team you should beat at home. And when they probably would have gotten booed if it was, 17 to 10. It was 33 to nothing. It was
It
like
is. It is a game that the Buffalo game still was a greater performance
it
in
was
my
better. It
opinion.
was just a better
Yeah,
game between
better
two
game,
teams who
better
played
game.
better. Yeah.
Two really good teams, but this is a game that people will be mentioning 25 years from now. This
Yes.
one, this one will be you know, when when some whatever a media outlet is that is doing a story on the 1250th Viking game. This will
Yes.
be the one. I went back to the first game they've ever played. This will be the game people go back to when they're writing their retrospectives 15 years from now, right? This game.
Yes. Well, Yeah,
It's
and and with the history of it being the 1000th, I mean, I think you wrote a little bit about this the other day too. Like what has defied, just what has defied that history this season, and in particular, that Buffalo game, and especially in the game Saturday, is like these are the games that they have lost, throughout their franchise history, right? These are at least in the last, 30 years, maybe post Bud. I know they won a lot of games close, kind of,
yes,
pulling them out when Bud was here, but like the more recent vintage of Vikings is, a couple obvious examples aside, like the Minneapolis Miracle has been losing in excruciating fashion when another team comes back or another team makes the play, not the way they've been winning this year. And that's what makes it all the more, I don't know, just baffling to me at least.
yes, it is. And again, as you say, you leave that game saying, "What is this incredible? What a courageous performance! And how the hell did they get behind 33-0
Yeah.
to those clowns? They're terrible." And by the way, why did Saturday not let the kid kick a 53-yard field goal to win the game? I looked him up. McLaughlin. Every game he's got a 50-yarder. He had a 52 in this game.
Yeah.
And instead you're going to have you've been down on the goal line like 8 times and weren't able to run it in, right? You weren't able to run nothing in, so now you're going to have Matty Ice, who is Matty Choke. You're going to have Matty Ice try to sneak it in. Unbelievable. So
I know. I mean, going for it there is not the worst thing in the world because you've got, 6 inches to make. But yeah, the play call, why did you do that specific play? Why, yeah, Matt Ryan on a sneak, you'd think you can still get it there, but I mean, I don't know. It was such a, in addition to being such an unbelievable game, it was such a weird game because you're right, you had some questionable decisions. You had 2 potential Vikings touchdowns nullified by, officiating. Both of them, Chandon Sullivan could have had 2 fumble returns for touchdowns that, that could have changed the complexion of some of the things. You had, just 2 a couple bad interceptions, Jalen Reagor and Cousins not really being on the same page on either one of those. So I don't know. I guess the bottom line is people who were tempted to call them frauds at the first half, which, was valid at the time, ended up being just the grandest validation of what they are, which is an extremely flawed team that somehow finds a way to win. Like this is their identity all year, and it was to the nth degree in this game.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
how'd you like that Colts defense on that little screen pass to Dalvin Cook after Matty Ice gets stopped? They immediately, the defense, just to prove what a bunch of clowns these guys are, they let him go. Whoop, 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 54 yards on a 3-yard pass that was intended to make 8.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
They looked utterly defeated. Yes.
It was the craziest thing of all time. I mean, if you were there and you're a Viking fan and you care and you don't mind the fact that you probably spent $300 a head to get there, you had to hit the streets on Saturday night. I wonder what downtown was like on Saturday night. There wasn't room for the bad guys partying. I would think there was too many Viking fans looking for any alcohol they could find immediately. I would think it had to be something. The celebration as the crowd poured out of that place. It was I mean, I'd like to have some really poignant observation to make, except it was, forget Stephon Diggs and one defensive back screwing up mightily, right?
Yeah.
This is the Minneapolis Miracle. The other thing is just one play. This was play after play after play to get back into the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned this on the episode I did over the weekend. Like I essentially gave up on this game. My wife Julie she had some work to do on Saturday, so she was out of the house for a while. So I was like, I'm going to take the kids somewhere once the game is over. When it's 33-0 at halftime, I'm like, let's not even wait for that. So we went and started doing some stuff. We went to this like this aquarium store they've been wanting to go to. And I get there and the game is actually on there. They have this little TV that's showing there. And all of a sudden it's 36-21. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I watched most of the rest of the game at this aquarium store and on my phone. And it was just I don't know, maybe shame on me for ever giving up on this team. But 33-0 sure seemed like a safe bet, especially the way they were playing. They were playing so bad.
I mean, that's what they were down to Dallas, and they ended up getting pounded and didn't come back. Now Dallas and Eagles are a different animal than these guys. But it's just, I mean, the Colts. Okay, the Colts got to say, okay, what did we do? Why did we stop playing defense? Why did everything we did? Why did Gilmore, who had that great first half against Jefferson, what happened to him? He's supposed to be one of the best cornerbacks in the world. What, how did they stop playing? How did they stop rushing? They got to look in the mirror and say, what the hell is, what did we do? How could we be this pathetic? They were supposed to be good when the year started, right? They went and got Matt Ryan. They had the great offensive line. They're terrible. They fired their coach.
Yeah.
And to lose that game is I was reading some of the retrospectives on it down there, and they were kind of saying Saturday made the right place. You can't not demean this team if you're from Indianapolis for years to come for this loss. This is what's the word? This is 41 to donut, This is their 41 to donut, right? The one that you remember for life, right? Somebody said in the first half on my Twitter account says, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be Viking-esque if the 1000th game turned out to be the second 41 donut, which is what it looked like it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it's just been astounding all weekend to just think back and say, this doesn't happen. George Halas is leaning on the Hupmobile in the 1920s in Canton, Ohio, and nobody has ever come back from a bigger deficit in the history of the game, the history of the NFL. It's never happened before. And it's how many years? 1920s?
Yeah, 100 years, about 100 years. And the record they broke was the comeback engineered by the Colts coach who got fired, Frank Reich.
Frank Reich? Oh, that was the previous record. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you count,
but that was a playoff game, wasn't it?
But they count that as the all-time record as the biggest. I mean, they say regular season or postseason. This is the biggest comeback ever.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I thought that was the. Yeah. Well, it is. It's astounding for several reasons, and one being that's the record. Because back in the 40s and early 50s, it was just a passing. When Van Brocklin and Waterfield were with the Rams, nobody played defense. They went up and down the field, and it is astounding. It's the record, but
nowadays,
everybody, every Viking expert who's. I wonder how many people went back and started deleting tweets.
They should have. They should have. I mean,
gutless cowards, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted a few times, but it was more pointed at specific areas. But yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. And, I guess a couple final thoughts on it. One, lost in kind of the zaniness of it is the fact that it is kind of possible in the modern NFL for a deficit like that to get erased. I mean, think about even just the Super Bowl a few years ago when Matt Ryan again, lost the 28-3 lead. Like a 33-point lead is massive, but in the NFL now you can score so fast, and so that part of it's not like a lead is ever particularly safe. And the other thing is, you hear arguments from I think it's kind of comes from a lot of analytics corners that momentum is not a real thing. Momentum, absolutely. This is like the poster.
No,
this is like the poster game for momentum
yes.
in each half. It can change, obviously, but within a context of a game, there absolutely is something to the idea of momentum.
A couple of things. A, you have the biggest comeback in NFL history, and the magic of the NFL. I hate the owners. I hate the greedy SOBs and all of the way they abuse their players and try to keep all the money for themselves. But absolutely, we found out what the magic of this is and why everybody watches, because you had a comeback from 33-0, and it wasn't the oddest event of the weekend. It was that moron from the Raiders.
The lateral?
From
the Patriots?
From the Patriots, with the greatest coach in NFL history standing 8 feet away from him.
Yes.
What does Jacoby Myers think is going to happen after Mac Jones gets the ball? Does he think he can now throw it down the field after 5 laterals?
I don't know.
What a moron.
I know.
I've seen him do some other stupid things, but it did give me a good, I just, on a just a whim, I looked up to see where he was from, and he would play at North Carolina State, but he's a Georgia native. He could be running for Senate in Georgia in 20 years from now. He could be a candidate for the U.S. Senate out of Georgia 20 years from now. Anyway, that was the damn. I watched that. I said, "What was that?"
You do that when you're down. You don't do that when you're tied. You don't do that when you're tied. What are you doing?
God, if I wouldn't let him get a. I'm surprised Belichick let him get back on a plane.
Oh, that's amazing
talent,
too. That's amazing.
But it was, and then the end of the, the Cowboys. What has happened to them? Last week, they almost lost to Houston, and they give Dak the ball. Dak has about 6 different chances to win that game. Ends up throwing a lousy pass that's deflected, and the Jaguars run it down the field to win it. It was just. There was at one point yesterday that the broadcaster during the. I think it was during that Raiders game, said that 9 of the 10 games at that point on Sunday were 1-score games.
Unbelievable.
The thing they have going for them is the worst team in the league can play Houston. The worst team in the league, once again, had a chance to beat one of the best teams in the league. So it's amazing how, what it's got going for it now. And it's more unpredictable than it's ever been because of as you say, the crazy scoring that's going on, and it doesn't seem like the clock. It doesn't seem like the game ever ends. Does it? When you're behind, between timeouts and spiking the ball and kind of they always give them the benefit of the doubt late in the game to keep the clock running, and it's amazing. I mean. The Vikings have benefited from that as much as anybody. They've never run out of time.
No.
All the times they've been down, they've never run out of time.
It used to seem like a 3-score lead, like a 17-0 or a 17-point lead at some point was basically insurmountable. And now it's not even close to insurmountable. Teams just come back from that like nothing. And they did it to Brady the other day too. Brady lost a 17-0 lead, I think, for the first time ever. So I don't know. It's the nature of the league, but even with that, the Vikings game took it to a whole new level.
It took it to a whole new level because you go from pathetic to great.
Yes. It was.
You have halftime, and you come out for the second half. By the way, and you go 3 and out, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. They come back. Yeah, well, they punted right away. So you say, well, nothing changed,
right?
And then you're unstoppable.
I think it was that half. I think it was the punt out of halftime that got us headed to the fish store, and then the rest was history. Wow. I saw you wrote over the weekend about Twins offseason, and it's been pretty interesting so far. Even if we take the pursuit of Correa out of the equation, and so they got a catcher, Christian Vasquez. What do you make of the Joey Gallo signing?
I mean, it means Kepler's getting traded,
Yes.
but beyond that, he had 152 last year.
Yes.
Even by his standards, he struck out another guy. I don't get it. I do not understand it. These guys apparently, as the game is starting, they 2019 they set the world record for home runs,
Yes.
and they obviously are still bought into that's the way to do it in baseball because they're bringing in. Their draft choices have been big sluggers. This Sabato that they drafted at can't play a position, and he's just a big oaf who tries to hit home runs, and they're still all in on the home run ball, and so Gallo gets some walks,
Yes.
and he hits some home runs, and I know there was stats last year where he had like 13 home runs and 4 singles or something. I mean, he's easier to strike out than Sano,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is in fact, I think they're the number 1 and 2 all time percentage wise. Those two guys, right?
I'm just looking at his stats right now. He's got 2,811 career plate appearances, and he struck out 1,048 of those times. I mean, that's
40%, right?
It's not quite 40%, but it's up there. It's like 37, 38% of the time of plate appearances, not just at bats. Of his at bats, it's almost half. Almost half of his official at bats are strikeouts. He has a career average of 199.
Yeah. And unfortunately for us, there was I went over there. There's a little media session for Christian Vasquez, which lasted 10 minutes. He's a very soft spoken guy. He's here to help us win the world championship, by the way. So,
yes.
Hold your breaths for that one. But, but we did, Falvey, we talked to him for a half hour afterward, just sitting around informal, never gave us a hit. 2 hours later, they announced this Gallo thing, but they don't really comment on it till it's official. They didn't announce it. It was leaked 2 hours later. They haven't officially. I don't think they've officially confirmed it yet, right? So,
right. No, I don't think they have.
They gotta give us an explanation of what in God's name do they see in this guy? I mean, he's not a bad athlete.
No, he's won some gold. He's won 2 Gold Gloves too, so he can field.
Somebody said that he has a slugging percentage of 600 at the target field.
Yeah, he did hit well
he
there
was facing the Twins.
There is that.
This should be an embarrassment for the Twins that this guy has a 600 slugging percentage. It shouldn't be some reason to think, oh, wow, he's going to now be a big hitter. He won't strike out anymore because he's in target field. Really? I have no idea what this is about. Because even if Kepler gets traded, which was the plan, you still got Larnach and Wallner, right?
Yeah.
I mean, both left-handed hitters.
Well,
Wallner's the same hitter as this guy, only young.
And Kirilloff, if he's ever, like you said, if he gets his wrist right, I mean, they got a lot of lefties. You really got so many lefties.
Yeah, they are. It's just I don't get it at all. I guess our guy Thad Levine must go way back to Gallo, right, in Texas.
Yes, because he was he broke in with Texas in 2015, and Thad was still there.
Yeah. Well, we did see him hit that mighty home run in the Futures game in 2014, so I guess I remember that. But I don't get it, and I did point this out Sunday that they started with their first ever signing was Jason Castro, who was a really good framer and a defensive catch, and he's a leader and he's a clubhouse presence. And 6 years later, they're right back where they started with Christian Vasquez, who's 32, a little bit older. Didn't hit as well last year as he had most years, but he became a much better hitter for about 3 years, and he's fine as your other catcher. He'll probably catch a lot more than Ryan Jeffers will, but I don't have any problem with that one way or another. He is 32. You know how crazy the game is, though?
What's that?
Austin Hedges caught for Cleveland last year. He's the easiest out in the history of baseball, but their other catcher got hurt, and they just played him all the time. So he was the ultimate Francona. Okay, I want a solid defensive catcher, right? He hit 162. Pittsburgh, rebuilding Pittsburgh, just gave him $5 million.
Wow.
As a free agent. Now, probably because they think they have young pitchers and Austin
right.
This whole catcher influence thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if the casual public that might buy a season ticket, not a season ticket, but tickets to go watch the Twins really is as fired up. But you can't write anything on any website about the Twins without these virulent, terrible rips of them. PR, the public that comments, and I don't know. We put too much stock into the people that react to tweets and post comments at the Star Tribune and that, because those people are going to hate everything. But those comments that you run across are just absolutely 100% against this operation now, which is kind of amazing, because it's not like this has been fallen off the cliff to this point, like 2011 to 2014.
Not to this point.
2019 was one of the best seasons in franchise history. And 2020, the COVID year, they were 36-24.
Correct.
So it's been 2 years. But people act like it's been forever and ever. They're haunted by the 0-for-18, obviously, in the playoffs. But because that's you immediately can go to they haven't won a playoff game since 2004. So, but they're in trouble. There's no doubt about it. They're in trouble. And then you put out your new, you put out your new jerseys, and some people might get excited about this. Then you find out you have to sell one of your children to pay for one of them. So, I mean, that, even the PR there was a disaster. So they've, I don't know. They need to get Juice. They need to get Juice Sutton back and tell us it's a whole new era of Twins baseball.
They got some work to do on the PR side. I mean, obviously, a lot of their biggest moves in past off seasons have been later in the off season. There's still time to to like this roster more. But I was kind of tongue in cheek the other day, but I went back even further than you. I went back and I saw that it was December 13th, 2012 was when they officially signed Kevin Correa to their team. And December 13th, 2022 is when they lost out on Carlos Correa.
Okay. That's good.
The Correas and the Correas. So 10 years ago, but obviously different circumstances, but had some fun with the idea that Terry Ryan knew how to lock down a Correa on a multi-year deal. But
that was after Billy Smith got fired, right? So Terry just came back. I think Billy got fired after 11.
Yes, he got fired after 11. Correct. It was after the Nishioka year. But it was just kind of wondering, like, are we headed for a few more years of bad, kind of like it was then? You had the 2 years, you had all the run of good, then you had 11 and 12, which were 11 was the surprising bad. 12 was the confirmation of it, and then it was still bad in 13, still bad in 14, better in 15 because they were 83 and 79, but then the total system failure of 16. So I don't know if they're headed for that or not. This is a better roster than they had back then. They got more hope than they had back then, but doesn't look like a team doesn't look like they have a plan yet at the very least. And I still do wonder too if getting Correa for a year might turn out to be kind of clouded people's expectations, so to speak, like you wrote, that they were never going to get him for more than a year.
Just remember, by the way, next year, in addition to everything else, you play how many fewer games against the friendly Central?
22, I think.
So, it's
76 minus 50 left. Yeah.
Then you're playing them
24 fewer.
Yeah, 24 fewer or something like that. So
36 minus 52.
So you're playing them quite a few fewer. So that'll have a negative impact on the record too. So
Yes, although the rest of the Central will have to do that too, but that will have an impact on your ability to win a wild card for sure because you won't
yes,
have as
yeah.
as many of those games. Let's talk about a couple other teams quick before we go. 150 for the Wolves last night without Towns, without Gobert.
Most ever in a
It broke
regular
their
season. Yeah.
broke the
Or in a
record. I think they
regulation.
had broke the record they had last year. I think when Cat had 60 in a game or something like that. So yeah, I mean they're hot right now. All of a sudden, the Wild can't lose. It's interesting to see Edwards play lately.
With the ball more.
Ever since Towns went out, he's asserted himself more. And the Bulls don't play a whole lot of defense anyway. But that game last night, he just looks like he's got a little more juice right now. When it's his show to run, that does seem like it changes his psychology a little bit. And then D'Lo can't miss a shot, so that helps.
Angelo is, he's been he misses a game here and there. I think he missed 2 again this time
and he missed one the other day when they still won without all those guys. That was amazing.
No apparent reason, but God, he's making 3-pointers. That's incredible to me. He's just really been, he's shooting the ball. That's last night they shot 63%, 64% or something. I've always said teams look really good when they make shots.
Yes.
Last night though, but the Bulls, who had a pretty good year last year, right? They're a complete train wreck. Joe Colley, right?
I don't know if I know Joe. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, Joe. Yes,
Joe is pretty candid in his daily coverage of the Bulls. He is savaging them, but he guaranteed a victory over before the game over the the injury plagued bad Timberwolves, and then he just was savaging them today. And who's a losing player? Zach LaVine's a losing player. He doesn't guard anybody. He throws up his shots. He's all in it for himself. I'm not a big Zach LaVine man. I like his talent, but the Bulls haven't done diddly with him there, basically.
Oh, he might be a Laker sometime soon if he keeps this up. If they keep it up, because their Lakers are always looking for someone to add.
And Davis is hurt again, so the Lakers are. They're going to go downhill again now. So anyway, it was amazing. 150.
Yeah.
God almighty. It's, the NBA is pretty good this year because they don't really have the horrible teams. The teams there's a lot of upsets going in the NBA is usually the most predictable league there is, but it's not quite that predictable this year.
Oh, the West is unbelievable. It's just like, the standings. I'm just looking at them right now. Like the Grizzlies are the number 1 team and they're 19-10, which is a good record. But then you got to go, you go all the way down to, the Wolves are even above the Warriors right now. Like the Wolves are in 10th place at 15-15. There's like just a whole bunch of teams in that whole range. I mean, they're only like 4.5 back of the number 1 seed and 4.5 back of the very last seed. It's unbelievable. It's a lot of variance this year.
One of my favorite events of the weekend is Ja getting tossed out of the game for going over and telling the fans how horse bleep the referee was.
Yes. He's a beauty. He's such a fun player to watch. He's great.
He's talking to the fans. Can you believe that? Whatever he said, the rabbit-eared ref, threw him out of the game for that.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of rabbit ears in the NBA. I think all the refs got together and said, we're not gonna take their crap anymore.
Right.
Throwing guys out left and right. So anyway.
Yeah.
And then we got our Wild. We got
Kaprizov,
one of the 3 best players in the world.
He's great, man.
And they've won 5 in a row, and he gets a goal and 2 assists yesterday. He's a Hart Trophy candidate. There's no doubt about it. Because this is right now, to me, they're one of the surprise teams in the league. I thought they're going to stink. You look at the lineup. You got some guy I never heard of, center in the first line.
Sam Steele, yeah.
Yeah,
he's been good. He's been good for him, but yeah, you're right. He's someone that I did not have on my radar at the start of the year.
Yeah, I mean it's been pretty incredible how they started off the year giving up 8 goals a game, and
Yeah.
now they beat you either beat you 4-2 or 2-1 or
Yep.
something like that. So it's pretty amazing.
I think Dean Evison can coach a little bit. He's got them convinced that they can win this way instead of having to frantically, scratch out those 5-4 pull the goalie wins that they could do last year when they had a little bit more offensive firepower. And it took them a little while to figure out their style, but they're doing it now.
Yeah, the yesterday 18-2 too. They had a over sellout crowd. The Woodbury parents keep pouring in there and buying jerseys, which are much more reasonably priced than the Twins jerseys. Very high, but more reasonably priced than the Twins jerseys. I still drives me crazy though that they wear the old North Star jersey. What is wrong with
They
you?
look good though. They look
do
good.
not belong in North Star jerseys. I don't know why Dallas lets them get away with it. It's sell your own product. Forget the North Stars. They're gone. They've been
They're
gone.
selling nostalgia. They look good though. I don't know. They look good. I'm telling you, they do look good. Even
They've
if you
been
don't
gone
like,
for 30 years.
yes,
Get on with your
they
lives.
have been gone for
Judge
30 years.
Solgad and the rest of you idiots, get on with your lives.
Yeah,
Hello.
some things we're never going to get over. Just like I'm never going to get over the Astros cheating, and you're going to chide me about that for years to come. Patrick, by the way, I'm disappointed you didn't watch the World Cup final. That was the greatest soccer match in history. If you wanted to pick one match that might have converted you a tiny bit to soccer, that was the one, and you missed it.
And then they decided on penalty kicks. What a joke. Make penalty kicks harder, and now maybe I'll watch, but it should not be decided on penalty kicks. You can't play for a month and then say, all right, I'm going to get the run right up at a goalie about 2 feet away from him, and if he goes left, I'm going to knock it into the right.
Yeah. I'm with you on make penalty kicks harder at the very least. I don't mind that. I like that. I like that idea because they're too close. You score on 80% of them probably, or close to that.
Yeah, if you miss one, it's like you're demeaned for life. You got a chance to get shot in a bar in South America or something if you miss one. So anyway, they've had a chaotic soccer history in recent years with
yes.
So I'm sure they're very happy down there in Buenos Aires. I haven't been there. My wife was there. She loved it. So that was probably a happy night in Buenos Aires last night.
I would think so.
You probably, if you were a handsome young woman or a handsome young man, you probably got a chance to get a big hug out on the streets last night, don't you think?
You probably
even if you
did.
were an ugly old man or old woman, you probably got a chance to get hugged out on the streets. It is. I do love the ethnic quality of it. I just don't like to watch the game.
Yeah. Well, it was
too much walking. There's too much walking. Stop walking. And walking the ball up. Get running. Come on, get moving.
For anybody of any sports interest this weekend, it kind of had a little bit of everything for you. It was a great sport. It was a great sports watching weekend, starting with obviously that Vikings game on Saturday. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. The twists and turns of the Minnesota sports scene will always have us surprised, but I'm sure it will be fun. Patrick, have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you then.
Merry Christmas.